Hey everyone, thank you so much for checking out Ozark Overland Adventures. Want to do something new and different for us anyway, and that's a Q&A video. I get asked a lot of questions all the time through all the different social media outlets. So put it out there on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. What questions do you have? And thought I would run through. I think we'll try to do this fairly regularly. I like to help people. I like to help people learn how to do this overlanding thing and, answer questions on what you need to get into it and that sort of stuff and how I do it. So first question, real simple. How'd you get into overlanding? For me, overlanding and doing this whole off-roading Jeep thing happened very organically. I'd always loved Jeeps. Loved Jeeps as a kid. It was always my dream vehicle. But having 3 kids back when we just had TJs, a TJ didn't make a very good family vehicle. So kind of had to put that dream on the back burner. But when the 4-doors came out, the dream was back alive. And so when it was time for my responsible 4-door family car to be replaced, I knew exactly what I was going to get. And, it started because of a love for just the outdoors, hiking, photography. I wanted to get to more places for hiking and for waterfall photography. Love all the waterfalls that we have here in Arkansas. And that's where the Jeep came in. So in the process of going to these places in Arkansas for hiking and photography, I just fell in love with exploring and just getting out and seeing all these amazing places that no one gets to see anymore because they don't leave the pavement. And then from there, it just kind of grew. And then, instead of day trips, I'm making overnight trips and camping and being on the move. And then it just kind of evolved from there and was kind of doing the overland thing before overlanding was the hot topic that it is today. So that's how it happened to me, just kind of organically, just from the love of the outdoors and then getting the Jeep and game on from there. Next question. Is wheeling in the Ozarks during gun season an issue? Excellent question, very timely question because it is currently gun season right now. And I've never had an issue. If anybody is hunting near the road, they're not supposed to be there anyway. So I've never had any bad encounters with going off-road in the Ozarks during gun season. Never an issue at all. Now, of course, we'll be out in the Ozarks and we'll hear gunshots from the distance and that sort of thing. But no, never had an issue during gun season. There was one time this was, several years ago, we were on a trail in the Ozarks and came up over a hill, and there was some dude with a ground blind directly in the trail. Now, he wasn't very happy with us, and honestly, we weren't very happy with him either, because he shouldn't have been there. But that's the only encounter we've had, and nobody got hurt in that. So, but that was it. But that was really silly for them to be sitting in a ground blind in the middle of the trail. All right, next question is, what is your goal for the YouTube channel? Love that question, and it's one that I haven't really talked about on the channel. I've talked about it in some social media stuff when people have asked me, but it should be no secret that I absolutely love this. I love getting out, exploring, overlanding, spending as much time as I can in the woods, on trails, at campsites, and I am lucky enough to have a wife that loves doing this with me. She is a big supporter of this channel and what we do and encourages me to get out and do this. Anyway, I love her and I appreciate her for that. And she and I both have this dream that when the kids have graduated high school, we want to either move out west, somewhere in Colorado maybe, or if we're able, do this full time. My youngest daughter graduates from high school in 4.5 years. And so I've got roughly 4.5 years to see what we can do with this. And so my goal is in 4.5 years to grow this YouTube channel big enough so that it can support us and sustain us, and we can do this full time and just travel and explore and see amazing things and hopefully make great content that people want to watch. If I had my pick, kind of a cross between Chris, his name Sean's, I think, with Venture Forward and his lifestyle of just living out of his Jeep, and Lifestyle Overland, and the two of them and their daughter, living out of their 4Runner and Lexus and rooftop tent. God, I would love that. So we'll see. That's the goal. That's the dream. And got 4.5 years to see what happens. Until then, this is home, this is base camp, and we'll continue to get out and explore as much as possible to make that dream a reality. I know the people that do this full time have the Patreon accounts where people can make donations and monthly supporters for the channel. I'm still on the fence about that. I figure that's something that I'm going to have to do at some point, but obviously haven't done it yet. So I'd like to know your thoughts. What do you think about the whole Patreon thing? I've got some friends that support some of the people that I just mentioned, and some others. So it's definitely a viable thing. I know trying to live off YouTube and the algorithm is hard to please, and so you can't guarantee a steady source of income that way. And that's where Patreon comes in and people supporting you monthly. So yeah, I'd love to know. If we started a Patreon account, what do you think? Would you be interested in supporting us? A little bit. Just curious, because it's not something I've done yet, and it's something I'm kind of on the fence to, but think it's going to be necessary to do this moving forward. So anyway, would love to know your thoughts. Next question, a little more practical here. How do you pack differently between your full kit, taking the trailer with the rooftop tent on it and the annex and all the gear, and then minimalist, the style overlanding or camping, where I'm just sleeping on my hammock? And you can see the two different styles of that between our Colorado trip with the trailer and how we were living out of it, and my Ozark Overland Adventure trail, where it was just me and the Jeep and a hammock and friends. And so, and kind of asking specifically here about, what all of my kit do I take with me? So great question. So obviously when I've got the trailer, the great thing about it is I can take everything. I can take the full kitchen setup, my big Camp Chef stove, my hot water tank thing that I've got, my Boss hot water heater thing for doing dishes and taking showers and stuff. I can take tons of water with me, tons of gear, extra blankets. I can just take it all. And that's the benefit of having the trailer if I want to. When I'm doing minimalist stuff, I'm taking one table. I've got the tailgate table on the back of the Jeep, always taking my Dometic with me, my fridge. I'm probably not going to take my big Camp Chef stove. I'm just going to take my single burner Jetboil half gen with me. Love that thing. And what I love so much about our setup and the gear that we have is we have those options. I can go out and be minimalist, and I love it. I can go out and take the full kit and live that way, and can pick and choose. That's one of the great things about now my wife's new Grand Cherokee with the rooftop tent on it. It's just one more option to go with. So super excited. All right, next question is also along the lines of our trailer. It says, what are the pros and cons of different trailer options? A teardrop versus off-road capable galley kitchen type. Well, to be honest, I don't have a lot of experience with different types of trailers. I've got my one. It is a teardrop style, but it does not have a galley in the back. And then if you watch the Kentucky videos, Land Between the Lakes, my friend James just picked up a new off-road trailer that is the, oh gosh, I don't know what to call it. The military style trailer with a rooftop tent on top and then just storage underneath. So that's really my only experience. But I can say from what I have done, I don't think I would like a galley in the back. I think that would get torn up and stuff busted pretty easy if it's not secured. I keep all my stuff in totes, so it can't flop around a whole bunch. But I mean, yeah, it would be really convenient to have just, open the back and boom, there's your kitchen, there's your galley. But I don't think for the type of stuff that I do and taking that seriously off-roading, I don't know how well it would survive. So that's why that was not a thing for me. It was actually a selling point that this camper that we have doesn't have that. So I know James loved his off-road style, that military style trailer with the tent on top. It was super lightweight, super small and nimble on the trail. So if you don't need the interior storage space or don't need the interior sleeping space like we have, because there's, when us and the kids and the dogs go, there's 5 humans and 4 dogs. It helps to have that extra space. I will say that having the interior space while I was in Kentucky definitely helped, because I was able to just sleep in that with it just being me. We had some major windstorms that came through one night and everybody sleeping in rooftop tent. They bailed and slept in their rigs because the 50 miles an hour winds were just beating them to death in their tents. So I was sleeping cozy inside my camper. So like I said in the last question, I love having the options to do multiple ways. So there's that. Next question, moving on to the minimalist side. What's my hammock camping setup? Pretty basic. I've got a Ticket to the Moon double hammock, which not a lot of people have heard of that brand. They claim to be the originators of the parachute style material hammocks. But anyway, I've got 4 of them for me, wife, kids, and absolutely love those hammocks. So Ticket to the Moon, I've got just a rainfly that bought from a friend of mine. He was selling them. I can't remember the brand of it, but any rainfly will do. I've got a couple of rainflies from Amazon, and I do have an underquilt and a really good sleeping bag that I also got off Amazon. The underquilt I actually made myself from an old sleeping bag. Just folded it in half and sewed some loops onto it to run some shock cord through. And I have slept in that down to 17-degree weather, and it's been fantastic. If you've got an old sleeping bag laying around, you can definitely turn that into an underquilt. That's quite effective. And there's a lot of YouTube tutorials and stuff on that. So next question. This is a fun one that a lot of people actually ask. What's up with the hair? Why the crazy hair? And my question is, why not? For me, it's just fun. There's no real reason behind it. It's just hair. If, I can grow it out and I can cut it off. And if it doesn't work out, hey, you can change it back again. So it's just for fun, honestly. Kind of matches my personality and, outgoing. That's it. It's just for fun. Having 3 girls myself, and my wife's a big fan. The girls love it. So yeah, that's it. Let's see. Next question. How do you find trails to explore? Excellent question. And I actually created a whole video on that, on finding trails and how to do that. It's I think it's my Gaia Advanced. I talk about that in there. But I use Gaia GPS. With a premium subscription, it's got so many different layers in there you can choose from. The most important one being the Motor Vehicle Use Map, or MVUM overlay. If you're in national forests, that is the absolute must layer to have in there, the must tool to use to find trails. We just got back this weekend from just making a day trip exploring new trails, and all I did was open up Gaia with the MVUM overlay and started looking at trails that I hadn't been on before. I was mainly looking for trails that I might find campsites that had a bluff line view or down by the water, because those are my favorite places to be. And just kind of created me a little path and set out to explore. I had no idea what we were getting into. One of them ended up just being a dirt road, and the other 2 were actually pretty nice trails that I will go back and explore again at different seasons. Because one had several waterfalls on it. One of them dumped you right on the big piney creek, and anyway, it'd just be a beautiful place to just chill for a while. So how do you go about judging what trails your camper can handle? Glad to see that the off-road campers get lots of attention here. I love that thing. But how do I judge what trails the camper can handle? I don't know that I do. I have taken it through mud above the door, actually above the fenders. And sometimes you're just in a situation where you either press on and make it, or you got to turn around and make a really long trek backwards. And I don't like going back, so I'll typically just do my best to press forward, and have been very pleased. The only trails that I don't like taking the camper on, and pretty much won't take the camper on if I know what they're like ahead of time, are really tight trails, because I don't want to get that thing busted up, banging into trees. I really don't want to get it all scratched up. My wife does like to see it keeping nice and clean looking, and she doesn't want it to look like that. So I don't want to take it down any real tight, narrow trails that I will take my Jeep down. So it pretty much is used for base camping in the Ozarks. But, Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, where the trails are a lot wider, Kentucky, I'll take it, and, figure whatever my Jeep can get over, I can get the camper over. Did have one issue in Colorado where I did bend the axle on the trailer. So that was an issue that had to be fixed, but we did make it home. So I don't know if that answered the question, because I may not be the best person to ask for that, because I'll usually just give it a shot. All right, this is a fun one. What are your thoughts on the new Bronco? First of all, absolutely love it. I think it is a product that the off-road community needs. We have already seen it push Jeep to do some things with the Wrangler that they may not otherwise have done, like the new V8 that's coming out, which is the only JL that I'm really interested in. But really, I think it's awesome. Would I own one? No, because I won't own anything that has independent front suspension as far as my driver goes. I want something that's going to have good articulation, strong axles. I don't want to deal with CVs breaking on me all the time like my friends do. But I think it's fantastic. My wife was actually said she was going to get one when she decided to get the Grand Cherokee Trailhawk, and I was all for it. I was super supportive of that. But she decided to get something newer and sooner. But my summary of the Bronco is it's a 4Runner that you can take the top and doors off. Do I think it competes with the Wrangler off-road? Not really. It's not going to be the serious rock crawler that a Wrangler can be. Be a great overland vehicle. But it will compete with the Wrangler in the fact that it will be one of only two vehicles that you can take the top and doors off. And it will definitely compete with the 4Runner being an independent front suspension off-road vehicle. And I think it may pull more sales from the 4Runner crowd than it will from the Jeep crowd. But we'll see. It comes out next year, and I'm super excited about it. Let's see. Where would you like to go but haven't yet? Man, that list is long. There are so many places that I want to go. So many places that I want to explore. There's a lot more to do in Colorado. There's a lot more to do in Utah and New Mexico and Arizona. I want to get out to California to the Mojave Road in the south. I want to get to the Rubicon Trail. I want to get up into Montana and Oregon and Idaho and Washington and that whole area. And there's a lot of stuff in the east too. So there's a ton of places that I want to go that I haven't been yet. What drone and cameras do you use for your videos? Drone-wise, I have a Mavic Air 2 that I use. Absolutely love that drone. It is the perfect size for just, keeping in my camera bag. Started with the Phantom 4 Pro, and that was great, but it was just so big. We went from that to the Mavic Air, and that was a big jump from size. But the Mavic Air didn't handle the wind and stuff as well as the Phantom did. Didn't have the battery life that the Phantom did. And when they came out with the Air 2, and it had the best battery life of any drone, it was still small. It had an awesome 4K camera on it, slow-mo, the whole deal. As soon as that came out, I bought one. Sold my Air, got the Air 2, and absolutely love that drone. Otherwise, I am filming with my iPhone 11 Pro Max. Don't have the 12, but the iPhone 11 does amazing videos. And then I've got 3 GoPros that I use, 2 GoPro Hero 8 Blacks. Love those things because of the image stabilization that they have in them. And then I've got a GoPro Hero 5 Black that I pretty much just use for water stuff because it's got a water housing. And the 8s can have a little bit of issues there. So that's really it. This I'm filming on my wife's mirrorless Nikon Z50. I've tried using that kind of as a vlogging camera when I'm on the trail and stuff, but it's just, this does such a good job. So I do have an external microphone and a little holder that I put on this that makes the audio just a little bit better. But my wife's camera is great for doing this type of stuff. But I really love this thing. So pretty simple, pretty small. Didn't take up a lot of space in my Jeep. Let's see. What do you look for in researching new camping spots in the Ozarks? That is also one that I just made a kind of a how-to video on. But really, I'm just looking at the MUM, places that dead end at streams. There's probably going to be a campsite there. Trails that follow along streams, there's probably going to be campsites dotted along there. If I'm out in Colorado or out west where it's a little more open with as far as the trees goes, you can usually find those on Google satellite imagery if you kind of look along the route and see where campsites are already established. But I'll put a link to that video up here, and that will help answer that question in a lot more detail. What sites do you make sure to stop at every time in the Ozarks? Gosh, that's a good question. There's so many beautiful places in the Ozarks. It kind of depends on if I'm in the mood for hiking or not. If I'm in the mood for hiking, there's a ton of waterfalls that I'll go to. A lot of them around the Buffalo River area. Hawksbill Crag or Whitaker Point is a beautiful location. If I'm kind of in the central area, the old Spurgeon Warren Cabin is a must stop. Union Schoolhouse. For food, Ozark Cafe, Ozark Burger Barn, Catalpa Cafe are all excellent places that if you're in the area, you got to stop and get some food or at least dessert from those places. Gosh, in the summertime, different swimming holes along the Big Piney, North Fork, Illinois Bayou area, Buffalo River area, Mulberry River area. So there's just so many. Just depends on what area I'm in. So last question, how does rain affect the trails and river crossings? And I'm assuming that's talking about the Ozarks, but it really kind of applies to everywhere. It changes everything. If we've had a good amount of rain, the trails are going to be a whole lot slicker. Ozark clay is no joke. You need a good set of mud tires for the Ozark clay when it's wet. But it completely changes everything. If the trail was moderate when it was dry, it's going to be difficult when it's wet. A good steady rain over a couple days before your trip can completely change the routes you can take because some water crossings may be impassable, especially if you don't have a snorkel and have experience with deep water. So rain changes everything. Me personally, love it when it rains because I love it when the streams are full, love it when the waterfalls are flowing. So it's after heavy rains that I prefer to go out and have fun. So, but you got to be ready for it and you got to be prepared and you got to have experience with it. Otherwise it could end badly. That's it. That's the questions that have been asked. I hope this answers some of those. I hope that maybe this answers some of those questions that you had that didn't submit questions. But anyway, I hope you found this enjoyable. I hope you found it helpful. Let me know in the comments. And if you like the video, please hit the like button on there. That helps us out with that whole YouTube algorithm thing. And if you are not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell icon so that you can be notified when we upload new content. My goal is definitely 1 video a week, hopefully 2 videos a week moving forward. We'll see how that works out with wintertime and holidays and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, that's the goal and would love to take you on our trips with us. If you have any questions or anything, please put them down in the comments. And I really appreciate you taking time to watch this. Thank you much. Bye.